What's going on, everybody? Hope everybody is doing well out there in ADOM Nation. I'm your host, John Stamper. We're here for another live cast on the ADOM Facebook page. And yes, it is Thursday and another featured company interview. Very, very excited to have a prior ADOM radio guest on with us today, Jeff Gladnick, who's the founder and CEO of Great Dental Websites. How you doing, Jeff?
Hi, John. Good to be back. Good to talk to you again.
Yeah, it's like we were just saying, it's nice to see each other, right? We did the radio podcast interview. Now it's great to have you on. And what I'm really excited about is what you're going to talk about today, which is optimizing your Google My Business profile. I took so much information from the ADOM radio episode that we did just on your insight when it comes to websites and understanding things from a Google perspective, especially in the world that we live in now. So I'm excited for you to share some of that today. Before we get started, love to have you share a little bit about Great Dental Websites and yourself.
Well, yeah, thanks again for having me on. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. This is as good as it gets these days for not seeing people in person. We're a little disappointed that the show got canceled, but probably the right call. Hopefully it'll be back next year and we'll get to see each other in person again. Great Dental Websites was started about 13 years ago. There are 8 dentists in my family and now 2 dental hygienists. My cousin just graduated from dental hygiene school a few weeks ago. My dad wanted a website for his practice, and he got quotes that were just blatant ripoffs from kind of shady companies. And I was working at a startup in San Francisco. I didn't have a lot of time, but this is my dad, I owed him. So from a variety of ways. And so I told him I would help him out and do it. And then my uncles and my aunt got wind of this and wanted in on this free website deal. So I made this software platform, and that became the basis of the company. We wanted to make kind of dental websites as a service and make it easy for practices to maintain their sites. And that's just ballooned over 13 years. We have 900 practices that are all on the software platform. And the whole idea is to just make new feature rollout very easy. So you just wake up one day and there's new features, there's new SEO improvements. This is what we do.
Yeah, so it's interesting. So today we're going to talk about Google, and I don't know about you in your house, Jeff, but I know in my house, like if somebody can't figure something out in like 2.7 seconds, then obviously the response is, well, just Google it, right? It's obviously the world that we live in right now. But I know you're going to get into a little bit more details as far as Google itself and the your Google My Business profile. Where I want to get started is having you share how often should you make your Google post is where I wanted to kind of go with this.
Ideally, we would like practices to set a reminder like once a week and share something. That's the ideal. The posts typically have a lifespan of 7 days, and then they kind of get archived. There are some exceptions to that for events and offers, but for the most part, it's 7 days. So once a week is good, but if you can do it just once a month, then that's a good start. Keep at it.
Yeah, and I think the other thing too is determining how often, or really what's the best way to interact with a practice with their patients on the Google My Business page. I know so many practices, as you know, they've got much better when it comes to social media engagement and interacting with a lot of their patients and future patients, like for example on Facebook and that. But when it comes to the Google My Business page, can you talk a little bit about the frequency and what's really the best way with interacting with their patients there?
Yeah, there's 3 things really. The first one is responding to reviews, and obviously, bad reviews you want to try to address and in a way that doesn't burn your HIPAA compliance. But even good reviews too, you want to thank people. It's a good signal to Google that you're engaged, and it's a good signal to people visiting the page that you're live and responding to reviews and you care and you take feedback seriously, especially if it's lukewarm or negative feedback. We've all seen people online respond to negative feedback in the worst way possible and just say something unprofessional and immature or just call names, and that's not what people want to see. You always need to take the high road there, but address the concern generally. The other thing I want to see people do is add pictures regularly. That's again something at least once a quarter and ideally once a month. You don't want to add the same level of pictures that you're adding to Facebook or something. But if there's something important, or you've redone the office or somebody's anniversary, or you have a really impressive before and after case, that might be good to share one of those per month. That's a good target there. And even Google even uses the front of your office front. So if you're setting up your practice for the first time, you have to verify it. and they use a picture of the front of your office as a point of verification. So that may speed up that process. The last thing I would just say is sharing posts. You just asked about posts. So just add that to your to-do list. So respond to reviews as they come in. Pictures once a quarter, posts once a month. That's the minimum I'd like you to see you put in your calendar.
All right. So when it comes to managing changes, right? Changes that so many of these platforms are doing on a daily, weekly basis. Can you talk a little bit about that in regards to the Google My Business page and how to manage through a lot of those changes, and particularly with what's been going on with COVID and having to manage through that?
Yeah, I mean, look, hopefully you have a marketing company that's briefing you on this or helping you, because it's a lot for me to follow. We have a whole team of marketing specialists that are reading the news and seeing what's changed on Google My Business. Every time there's an update, we're analyzing it, trying to figure out how we can use this to help our clients. There's been a number of different changes and additional links that have been added for a COVID health disclaimer form. And a lot of practices have done that. We pushed out an update overnight back in March to every client we had to show that little red bar at the top saying there's some new rules and it's going to be way different now coming to the dentist. But this is good. And, here's information. A lot of people would post a video about that too. There's new links for telemedicine. So we're on, doing not a Zoom call, but whatever this program is. And a lot of people have downloaded Zoom or something similar and have gotten into the habit of being able to communicate with people over video, and they've gotten comfortable with this. So if you've done that in your practice, and you can't do it for everything. I mean, you can't do an X-ray or, analyze a root canal or something or poke in there over video, but you can take a look at a gap in somebody's teeth. You can have an initial consultation. You can talk to a patient if you're the practice and just answer basic questions in a way that may be more interactive than taking a phone call or responding to a text message. So I think it's a wonderful option to offer people. If you're the office manager or the front desk, is give people a way to contact you via video. And Google My Business now has a link you can put right in your profile to support that.
Perfect. So I don't know how many people know of this. I know you always hear the hundreds of engineers that they have at Google. And so that only means one thing. That means a lot of people sitting around and probably creating a lot of cool features and benefits that many people may not even know are there. You touched on the video part and things like that, some of those forms. What are some other features that are a part of the Google My Business page that get underutilized, that practice could take advantage of?
I feel like a broken record, but posts are underutilized. The other thing I would say is the Q&A. People think that you have to wait. It's a little secret, and it will help your local SEO a bit if you do this. A lot of people think you have to wait for random visitors to ask a question on your Google My Business page. That's not true. You can ask yourself questions, and then you can answer them. And so you can just take the FAQs from your website or questions you're getting from patients in real time, ask that question to yourself, and then answer it. And Google will start to, if you fill out all that information, then the little Google My Business profile that will appear typically on the right side of the search results, if someone's looking for your practice, it just starts to look a lot more populated. Now you have reviews, you've got pictures, you've got Q&A, you've got posts, and it just starts to look like a thriving, active business instead of a generic business listing.
Right. And the other thing I know that you mentioned earlier in regards to posts is that there's a couple different, layers to it. There's just standard posts, and then there are things like events, maybe some things that the practice is going to do in the community or whatever the case may be. Can you talk a little bit about the differences between those two?
I have actually, if you guys don't mind, I'll share my screen real quick. I have a couple of slides to illustrate this a little bit better. Give me just a second. All right. So this isn't what I want to see. There it is. So the typical post is going to look something like this. So you add a photo, you add a little blurb. It's pretty short. You can have a little button that links somewhere, and then you just hit go. And that's your call to action. And so that's the thing that's going to last 7 days. That's the thing I want you to do once a week, ideally, because it'll go away after 7 days. However, you can also do offers and events. So you may have an end of the year, insurance, use it or lose it promotion going on, or you may have a limited time new patient special or teeth whitening special. That's pretty common. This is a perfect place to do that. If you're putting it on your website, put it on Google My Business too. It may entice somebody to click through to your website to sign up for that in the first place. Same thing with events. And these things, events and offers will have a time limit in there. So you have to have a start date and an end date. So you can kind of program this out over the course of the year too. You can batch it and be a little bit more efficient. But that's a great thing to do to kind of it's a great thing to do to get things rolling for the different type of posts you're having if you're having difficulty getting inertia doing it. And those are the good types of posts that I would share. Those three.
Yeah, I love that. All right. I like to ask a lot of times when we get the opportunities to come on here and talk with companies of having you share some success stories, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think what's cool about your company and the work that you guys do with practices is you're helping them. I know you and I talked about this on the podcast. You know, when it comes to a website, there's more than just putting stuff on there. There's strategy that goes behind it. There's discovery work that goes behind it. And I know when you guys work with practices, you take a lot of that time up front to share with them what the opportunities are. It's probably going to be really cool when a practice makes that commitment to do more work when it comes to their Google My Business page, and then they start to see results. So I'd love to have you share maybe just a couple of those stories, maybe even in the last 5 or 6 months of what that process is like.
So there's, I mean, yeah, that's the kind of thing that makes you get out of bed in the morning is when you get a nice note from a client and says, "Oh, this is the best thing I've ever done. This really changed my business." And you're like, "Yeah, thank you." Especially if it comes on like a bad day where you have staff complaining or some technical problem that's wasting your time. But there's two clients I'm thinking of. One was a startup practice, a pediatric startup practice in Illinois. And they were a fantastic client. I still talk to that dentist all the time. And they believed in us right away and kind of went with the program, and it worked out beautifully. He was an associate in another practice and just went from like 1.5 days and just stepped it all the way up to full time, dropped to their job, and has a thriving practice, and just slowly pared down his marketing as he grew and hit saturation where he wanted to be. And that there's never a better phone call to hear when someone's canceling a service than "I'm canceling it because I'm full." And we're like, "Oh, okay, well, can't really argue against ourselves here." The other, and so those are always nice when things go exactly according to plan. The client trusts you, and it's wonderful. But things don't always go according to plan. So there's another client I remember we had in Northern California who had a practice for a while and had done couple different false starts with different marketing companies or their own initiatives, and they were really skeptical. And that's pretty common to work with clients who have been just absolutely burned by shady people or companies, and they're really, you really have to work to earn their trust. And I remember getting this guy to give us content or do what we were asking, or to trust us on strategy was a fight sometimes, trying to convince them. We felt like a personal trainer with a guy who just insisted on not lifting and eating donuts. And we're like, come on, you got to just eat some vegetables and just please pick up the weights. Trust us. But he did, to his credit. And he wrote me a really nice email, which I remember sharing at an all hands meeting with our company, like a couple of years later after he had been with us for a few years, and got basically saying thanks for sticking with me, and and thanks for pushing me, because everything's worked out really well. The practice is thriving, and I almost quit a few times, but I hung in there, and that those kinds of things make it feel like the effort's worth it. And sometimes we do have clients that are challenged. They probably feel like that about us because we're pushing them to do things that are uncomfortable or a lot of work, and they don't want to do it. And that's advice I would give to any practice: is it should be a little bit of work. You don't want a relationship with a marketing company that you're just sending a check to, and they just never ask you to do anything. What kind of, especially on social media, we're on now. Who wants to connect socially with your marketing company? Your patients don't want to talk to me. They don't care about me. They want to talk to you. They want to hear more about the dentist and the staff and the people they're actually going to be interacting with. And if you just outsource everything entirely, and there's some technical bits of search engine optimization or Google Ads optimization that it takes a lot of effort and training and experience to do really well and efficiently, and that may make more sense to outsource. But you've got to be involved in some of the creative work, some of the social media content and ideas. And if you're telling yourself you don't need to be, and you just hand it off to somebody else, it's all going to sound the same. And it's really hard for us to make something unique if the practice refuses to be involved.
Yeah, I love that. I'm glad you shared that, right? It's, I mean, you know better than anybody. It's there, people talk a lot of times about ROI when it comes to marketing, and there's a commitment on both sides, right? It's always, I've always thought it's unfair to bring on, a company that does a marketing or website, anything like that, and expect, high levels of results like right away in the first couple of weeks. And likewise, to your point, the longer it goes, if you're not engaged, that it sometimes it's a long-term game, right? It takes time for those results to flush themselves out, and it typically comes down to the relationship, like you mentioned, and their commitment. And you see that when both sides commit to wanting to get the word out and marketing their practice, results they show up, right? The tools are there. There's so many great tools now, like you shared with today. It's just one example, and to help them connect more with their patients.
Yeah, I mean, we've gotten emails from clients like the day their site is launched, like, why am I not at the top of Google? It's like, look, give us time. You haven't even been indexed yet. We just submitted the site to Google an hour ago. Well, this takes a little bit of time. So we do some of those marketing campaigns do take patience. Yep. There's another cool thing that we're doing. We just started doing, and we've started to build the application into our back end of mapping appointments on a Google map. And we started doing this with a client in Louisiana who did a lot of implants. And I talked to him on the phone because they were launching a pay-per-click campaign. And he drew kind of like a box on the map for me. He's like, Jeff, this is where my patients come from. And I was like, well, what about this town just outside the box? He's like, nah, it's a lower income area. It's a little bit too far north. We just don't get a lot of patients from there. And I was like, well, what about over here? No. So we asked him for an export, I think, of like the last 12 months of all the dental implant cases. And then we plotted them on a map. And it was a little shocking because there were a couple things that you saw. One was like this little corridor that went through the bayou. There's no dentists in the swamps. And so everybody was driving up the highway, and some of them were coming to his practice. That little town that he thought was, lower socioeconomic area that wasn't going to pay for implants. Turns out there were at least some people that were. And there was another pocket in like another city that was like well outside the box. We even found people from like Texas and Florida that like showed up on the map. I'm not sure. We didn't extend the marketing there, but we did push it out to a couple of those little pockets. And that's something that you can do yourself. And you can do it for free if you're an office manager and or a dentist, and you want to figure out where your patients are coming. Because he was shocked to see that, and it drastically affected where we were targeting pay-per-click campaigns, and it was cheaper to advertise in the bio. Those people were just not seeing a lot of ads, and now they were. And it felt to them like he was the only option. But if whatever your PMS data is, there's usually a way to export patient data or do it based on appointment. If you can get just the addresses, you can upload them into a custom Google map, and it'll just show you all the little dots. And I think you'll be shocked to see where your patients are actually coming from. Every client we've done this with in the development of this tool has been surprised. And it's changed the way we've done paid search advertising. Yeah,
that's awesome. I love that idea. All right, if you could let everybody know, Jeff, where they can learn more about you guys, get more information about all the things that you guys do, setting up demos or whatever the case may be with a lot of the things you can help them with. Love to have you share.
Yeah, go to greatdentalwebsites.com if you'd like us to take a look at your GMB profile. It's usually pretty quick to see what the problems are. We can help you improve them if you're stuck or you don't have time. Or if you want us to take a look at your website or help you with the patient mapping thing, just give us a call or go to greatdentalwebsites.com, fill out the contact form. I see every one of those come through. So if you want to chat with me too, you can reach me through there, or jeff@greatdentalwebsites.com is my email.
Awesome. Jeff, thanks so much. I love that tip about uploading the patients to the Google map, right? That's
do it. It will shock you.
Yes. Sweet. All right. Well, listen, always great talking to you, man. Have a great rest of your day, and hopefully we'll see you soon.
Yeah. Thanks, John. Thanks everybody for tuning in.
You got it. See you, Jeff.
Bye-bye.